children. We're only projecting an increase in non-public school children. Non-public school children do not get special ed, and therefore it would be wrong to budget for that into the budget.
Through the chair.
Yeah, I'm still on here. Madam Superintendent, you're telling me that you would have preferred to have higher expenses and all these things, but however, since you've been given the charge to increase the budget, you decided to cut these areas.
Not just these areas.
Well, hold on. I let you finish. Let me finish. I feel that when you say you're cutting these areas, you're cutting the services of the most vulnerable amongst us. When we say that we're going to cut the special ed kids, it's very easy for somebody who may not have special ed children to say, well, you know, special ed. They're the most vulnerable amongst us. And if we're going to start cutting from them, where do we end? Where do we stop? And I feel it's completely...
In my 11 years that I ran for
Michael, absolutely.
and I never
So it's his choice.
It's not fair, Michael, that he gets to campaign and not me. Just because I'm the board, he gets to campaign.
Why don't you
Tuesday, it's the last, it's the last, the public, it makes no difference.
I have the right to campaign also.
I agree
It's
with Mr. Blaustein.
It's a democracy. Everybody has equal
I
rights.
agree.
He has the right.
Through the chair.
Mr. Blaustein, he wants to be
You know what?
quiet.
I'll leave. You guys can do what you want.
Mr.
You're about to
Blaustein,
leave
I
also.
agree.
I'll leave also.
You should have done it 20
Through the
minutes.
chair.
Bye. Have a good night.
Who is the bigger drama king?
I'll watch your
Drama
something on YouTube. We have a cameraman. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion.
Waste of time on YouTube. Okay.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion. Please make sure you're getting everything. Through the
Listen,
chair. It's better on the rewind.
Let's vote on the budget.
I would like to make a motion to vote on the budget.
I agree.
However,
Second.
however, we should have allocated for the line item for the roof would be $375,000, and I'd like to vote on that amended budget.
Second motion.
Can't do that. Someone's going to ask me a question.
Yes, I have a question.
You can make a motion. Someone's going to ask something. I just want to ask Mr. Osram if he can speed it up.
I'm asking the superintendent, why are we punishing the most vulnerable amongst us? The special ed children, why are we punishing them?
You know, I've sat here now for quite a few moments, Mr.
Excuse
Chair.
me, through the chair, can we please vote on the budget and then you can sit here and...
I made a motion, Mr. Fink,
Excuse me, you were recognized.
to use the word punish.
Recognize me.
I recognize you, trust me. But the question, I can't sit here as your attorney and hear the word punishing. We are not punishing special ed children. That can only open you up to God knows how many lawsuits. So I hope we're not
So I'll
punishing.
rephrase that. We're affecting mostly the most vulnerable amongst us.
Well, that is your opinion, and apparently the administration feels differently. So we could debate this for another 2 hours.
No, we can't. It's 11:30.
Mr. Ostracher is done, we need to vote because I need to go, and I
Yeah,
think
me
Mr.
too.
Fink needs to go
So
as well.
we do the budget or we leave.
Okay,
Through the
anyway.
chair, it's your choice, we need to go, so either we vote or we go home.
Through the chair.
One second, hold on. If you correct me, Mr. Osram, I just want to say one thing, baby, that any child that needs an IEP says he has to get, he has to go to a private school, he has to get certain funding, he has to get it. It makes no difference what this paper says. No one is cutting anyone out. No
To
one's
use the analogy in the law, we would have to sell the superintendent's desk to provide for public school special ed needs.
So I don't really think that we're cutting anyone out from special ed. There's no one being denied any special education. That doesn't happen.
That was 2 times ago.
It's a question of budgeting and how, if they feel that these are my children to be there, that's what's going to happen. If we feel, if it comes out 100 people get IEPs and we got to find money for it, okay, we got to find money for it. But today, this is what the DA came up with. But you're not telling anyone that comes to the door that needs special education, sorry, you can't come in because there's a budget for you. That doesn't have, the law doesn't allow for that.
Besides, well, if that's the case, why are we cutting $750,000 from a line that has nothing to do with recharging and rebuilding? I'm talking about here related services of OTPT that were $750,000 less than we had last year. It has nothing to do with rebuilding. That's another question there, and nobody addressed that. Between the two of them, it's $1.3 million of less special ed. Now let me give you another line over here. Mr. President, I don't know if you noticed, the line number 026990, which is for textbooks. Last year we spent $932,953. This year we're spending $577,349 for $355,000 less on textbooks.
These textbooks are not classroom textbooks. These textbooks last time were explained to us that for libraries and things like that, they're not the classroom textbooks.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Through the chair, can we give proxies on the budget?
A what?
Can we give a proxy so we can leave? A proxy to the attorney on the budget.
You can ask the attorney that
Now,
question.
I don't even know what you're saying, but
Then listen, we would like to give a proxy on the budget to vote for the budget.
what I would suggest as the board parliamentarian is that you vote on the budget. We have exhausted this issue.
Right.
In all due respect, there are concerns, they are valid concerns. All board members have the right to ask these concerns. It seems like the answers given are not to the satisfaction of one or some. They may never happen. There may never be satisfaction. But the fact is, thank you.
Well, as the committee chairman, you had all year to address this question.
The fact is that the answers were given. They may not be to his satisfaction or others, but we could debate this. I'm saying that we could, not we will, for many days. Actually, but at this point, the point is well taken. The record so reflects, and we should get to the vote. I did hear in the vote, or the motion, which I believe there was a motion, I believe there was a second, to reduce the roof. Mr. Chairman, if I may ask the VA. Mr. VA, how much is in the budget for the roof? $750,000?
That is correct.
Just so the public knows, what's currently budgeted is not just for 1 year. From what I understand, it would be $750 times 5 years. You go do that math, that's $3,750,000.
Correct.
What the board members are saying, if I understand them correctly, is not that the roof shouldn't be fixed, but they've gotten a wide disparity of quotes here, from $1 million to $2.2 million. And what they're saying, if I understand it correctly, is why have the taxpayer pay this so we can sit in our account and bear interest if in fact we may only need $1 million. I'm not saying we only need, I'm not a roofer, I'm not an architect. But I think what they're saying is give $350 towards the roof as opposed to $750. Am I understand that correctly?
$375.
I'm sorry, $375, I'll be able to slur with it. $375. So is there any problem with that, Madam Superintendent? Last I checked, you're the VA.
No, not at this point.
Through the chair, Mike, please.
Yes.
Based on just the pictures that I see here in front of me about the school, just because the school, these estimates, they don't say that the school is in dire need or the roof is going to collapse. There's more at play here. There's actual structural damage that I see in some of these photos, water damage from the leakage inside the school, molding around windows, frames, doors, chimneys, holes and puddles in the roof. So it's a lot more than just the roof being fixed. It's the damage that was caused by the water in the school that also needs to be looked at as well. The roof needs to be fixed. But based on just what I see, I'm not talking about the money aspect of it. I'm just talking about what I see here in these pictures. The work needs to be done, and the work needs to be done as soon as possible. I don't think that we have the luxury of waiting another 3 years or another year to get this building running. I mean, and structural sound. Not just the roof, like I said, the molding, the water damage that this leakage has caused over the years. Duct taping and caulking windows does not prevent water damage that I see here in these pictures. And I think a reduction in this would be a great mistake. Whatever money we have budgeted for the roof to be fixed, even if we budget $4 million, only use $2 million, at least we still have a savings.
Okay, that, Mr. Tiff, the comment was reflected in our record. There's a motion and a second. I believe the motion was made by Mr. Silver, seconded by Mr. Seitler. Mr. Seitler, motion seconded by, who was seconding it?
Me, Silver made it.
Silver and Seitler second, which is the budget as you saw tonight with one modification. Instead of the, can you give us a specific line item, please? Because that is required under the law, in my opinion. What the line item would be for reduced, what line item?
Line item would be construction services, 12-000-400-450.
What page is that?
That is on page E12,
Page
and that would be reduced,
it's on the left side, it's budget line 8270.
and that would be reduced from,
650 to 375.
actually, to be fair, there's another line item, because you told me 750 earlier.
Yes, part of that would be from the interest line.
What line is that for your resolution?
That would be 11-251-832.
Which is on page E8, which would go from what to what, sir?
Well, it's
From 100 to 50.
100,000 interest is removed,
okay.
so it'd be 50, and that line on the left side says what?
I'm sorry, it's 07135.
Okay, so there is the motion as seconded. We've had discussion. Is there more discussion?
No, call it.
No. Okay. And Ms. Silva, you've said you're okay with this?
Through the chair.
Given the fact that the board has committed to addressing the issue of the roof in the best possible manner, I have faith that we will do what's correct for our children, and we're going to get more quotes. So yes, I am fine with it.
Okay.
Through the chair. Discussion.
Open discussion.
Well
I
said.
understand, if we're getting quotes at $3.5 million over a 5-year basis, and we're counting 750 for this year, what is 375? Where was that
The
arbitrary
number came, if I may, from what I understand from the logic here. There was one company, I believe, that came in at $1 million, I could be corrected, which was a lot less than others. We're not awarding any contracts tonight because there has to be a process. But that, from what I've been told, you all got the report, I thought, it was $1 million, if I'm wrong, correct me.
And there was another between 2 and 2.5 and
So
another
that is
2.8. So I don't know why you picked on the one to 3.5. But
Okay, but,
3 quotes well under 3.
okay, and that's how, so now you have the answer. So now we vote.
Mr. Fink,
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio,
Yes.
Mr. Seidler,
Yes.
Mr. Silver,
Yes.
Mr. Tift.
I'm still not understanding something. Before I vote.
Are we asking for a reduction in the cost of the roof?
What we're doing, if I may, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Superintendent, from what I understand, there still will be money allocated for a roof repair.
With just the amount?
Just, it's from 750 to 375,000.
Per year.
Per year.
now.
Well, we're only doing
We
this
can
year.
increase it next year.
Okay, but the question is, what about if we need a new roof this year? What are we gonna do?
Well, then
That's the
there's
question.
ShopRite, you know where ShopRite is? See those guys with the
Get the
cans?
roof this year, the question is, it will
We
get
will
it
fix it. The
cheaper.
question is the price.
Yes.
We have quotes for $1 million, we have quotes for the low 2s.
The board is not saying not to do the roof, they're just saying to do it more economically.
I understand that. But what happens if we need it sooner than later?
This is lease purchase money. This is money we're going to do.
It's not a question of when we do it. We can do it right tomorrow. It's just a question of how much we're allocating for it. It's not a question of when.
What the board members are saying is they got an estimate, which is non-binding, for about $1 million, as opposed to an estimate for about 2.5 and 2 onward. So they're suggesting, again, they're not roofers, they're not architects, but they are suggesting the following logic. Why tax the taxpayer for money we may not need if we can possibly get away with not spending so much? You raise a valid point, what happens if, but we could do that with many items. So what is your vote?
Thank you, Mr. Tiff. Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Ostreicher?
No.
Mr. Grunhut? Yes. Motion passes. Thank you for your support.
Could you give us the total number?
Wait, for the benefit of the public, what is the total number of the decrease for this year? You would want
The
that.
decrease is $425,000.
Okay, 425,000.
What's the total budget number?
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
I second that.